Good evening, everyone. This is Maurice from the Triple M Model Railroad. As you see here, I have two engines from Scale Trains, and these are the GEVO Tier 4s in the Navajo Transitional Energy Company scheme with the warm bonnet paint scheme on it. And the road numbers are 2026 and 2027. And these particular engines are owned by BHP, which I believe how you pronounce it is Billington. And they are a company that is based in Australia. And I find it kind of interesting that it was this particular company that owned this mining facility. Because in the beginning of my journey into this hobby, I was actually modeling AC6000s owned by BHP. And I decided to do BSNF because I had a very difficult time finding the actual coal cars or ore cars, more or less, which are basically a European prototype here in the States, and also overseas they didn't have that many of them. So I want to try to be as authentic as I can, even though the Broadway Limiteds weren't exactly prototypically, they didn't prototypically make those prototypes exactly the way they are supposed to be. They just copied the paint scheme. That's all they did. The only ones that came with the proper prototype was actually Overland models back in the day, but they wanted almost between $800 or $900 per engine, and I believe there were 8 engines, if I'm not mistaken, that BHP owned, AC6000s that they owned. So yeah, I definitely. Even right now, I wouldn't be able to afford it. It's just too much money. But anyway, fast forward today, I have these engines, and originally I wasn't going to get these engines. I mean, I was debating back and forth with my uncle, and if I'm going to get the engines or not, and I wasn't too crazy about the scheme. And when I went to the show and see these in person, and I was quite impressed with it. And I said, maybe I'll get them. I'll just I'll just bite the bullet and just get these, just add these to my collection. Now, in real life, these engines run on a separate railroad, separate from the national railroad here, in the States. Is not connected any way to the American national railroad system. It's a railroad system on its own, specifically mining coal, and I guess I don't know if anything else, but that's specifically what these engines are basically for. And these engines were shipped by truck to this particular railroad, which I found kind of interesting. And, again, this is more of a collection. I don't know if I'm going to run these on the layout. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe just for, for shits and giggles, just run them. Or maybe even designed a branch line or a separate line under my uncle's layout. I don't know how I'm going to pull that off. I got limited space. Maybe I'll just use this for a future railroad. What I'm going to create in the future for myself. When I get my own place. I'll have just a separate railroad or a separate line just for these particular engines. I mean, there's no rule that you can run it on, a main, like your main layout. There's no rule for not to do that, but I try to be as You can call me a purist, as you can be. But who knows? I mean, maybe my mind may change. I mean, I might be being silly about it. But let's get to the quality and the build of this particular, of these engines. They are well built. If I give it a scale, the 1 to 10, I give them like a 9 when it comes to build quality. And there are minor issues that I discovered with these models. One was one of the air cooling vents. I believe is 2027 that has the issue where one of them are just a little concocted. Not a showstopper. The horn on basically the same engine, 2027, was a little, again, concocted. And one of the steps, the lower steps on the, I guess the brakeman side, was kind of dislodged. And all these, well, the steps are an easy fix. I attempted to try to fix that vent, but I didn't want to run the risk of actually breaking it further than what it is. So, I mean, it's not terrible. I mean, I got this eye for things. My eyes just keep zooming in onto defects. You know, which is not terrible. It's not bad. I mean, considering how detailed these models are, I'm surprised there's not even more problems. But, you know, but the steps could be easily fixed. That's not too much of a problem. I just need a little glue, a little aircraft glue, and call it a day. And that'll be it. And just put it into place and it'll be done. As for running, they run pretty well. You know, they're very smooth out the box again. You know, and by the way, these engines actually have the new Lock Sound version 5s. I didn't think they would get the version 5s, but when I actually uploaded the sound files onto my computer, sure enough, it's version 5. So that's great. So it has all the brand new features that, you know, that's version 5. ESU need to come out with some instructions on this. They have not done that yet. ESU is pretty slow when it comes out to coming out with really good documentation on their decoders or whatever items that they may sell. You know, so, you know, but at least they have the version 5s, which is great. And just like the Dash 9 that's right behind it. And they're all version 5s, which is good. Now, as for the sound, basically it sounds the same as the version 4s. It runs the same as the version 4s. I mean, there's no real, from what I can see, any real light years difference. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference. Now, when it comes to feature sets, when it comes to the decoder, that's when the version 5s may shine. But I don't know what feature sets that the version 5s will have compared to the version 4s. You know, I mean, as far as I know, the hardware is different. By looking at comparing the version 4 and version 5 decoders, there's some significant upgrades to the circuitry. You could visibly see it. There's different chips. Placement is all different when it comes to the chipsets and stuff like that. So it's a totally different decoder. Basically in the same footprint, size footprint, but it's the same decoder. Maybe I should have just took a video of that, but that just totally slipped my mind, especially when I had the Dash 9 apart. Because I do have a version 4 that's actually on a tester right now. You could actually see in the distance. So you could actually clearly see there's differences in the decoder between the version 4s and the version 5s. So I apologize for that. But other than that, yeah, these two engines are great. I'm very happy that I got them. I would be happy when I get my BSNFs. You know, I have to have my BSNFs. And I'm gonna have a pretty big fleet of BSNFs. I'm gonna have more than what I anticipated. You know, a lot more of what I anticipated, including these engines and including the NSs. And I'm also gonna get all of the NSs for the Dash 9s. I may get some Santa Fe. I'm really debating on that. I'll probably get the Santa Fe scheme as opposed to the scheme, the Heritage 2 BSNF schemes. I really don't like those schemes very much, to be honest with you. Never was a fan of the Heritage 2s, except for maybe one engine, and that one engine does not exist, and that's I believe the AC6000 by Broadway Limited. I just find it just looks good with that engine for some apparent reason, but not like the Dash 9s and so forth, or the older version of the GEVOs. I remember the older versions also had the version, or Heritage, I keep saying version, the Heritage 2s. All right, so enough of my talking. Let's start this things up. I have these consistent. The road number is actually 20, and let's get them running. Let's take a closer look at these models. All right. Now let's get them moving. Now let's reverse them. Another thing is that this particular engine has actually 2 horns. And I believe the first one is the K3HL. And I forgot what the other one is, to be honest with you. I read it in the instructions. I totally forgot what it was, but you just heard it. You only hear that when you go backwards. And you actually can visibly see the horn on the radiator shroud right here. As you expect, ESU excellent motor control. I did some tweaking with the forward and reverse speeds, so it starts smoother. I set CVs 3 and 4 from 22 to actually 100. I did that also with the Dash 9 that's here too. Okay, very, very slow. Okay. Let's turn her around. I actually have to admit, I don't care about the K3 HL horn. This sounds kind of odd to me. Not only that, the quality of the recording is a little, if you listen very carefully, it's a bit uneven. I know I'm nitpicking, but I mean, compared to the other horns, this one's kind of a little janky. It all can't be gems, I have to say, but it'll do for now. Until ESU come out with another more improved sound file on the GEVOs. I was never really a big fan of the sound sets for the GEVOs. I don't know why. I said maybe because they don't really, I don't feel they sound like the prototypes exactly. Again, I'm nitpicking. I could be wrong. But for some reason in my mind, I expect them to sound differently. The Dash 9 actually sounds great. These new GEVOs, they got this, it kind of sound, I don't know, they sound kind of, they're kind of odd to me. Okay, let me stop this. Let's do one more run, but let's speed it up a little bit, and you actually see the adjustments I made when it comes to the acceleration and takeoff. I can't go very fast because I got limited track, so let's give it a gander. I'll start with speed step 1. And then I'll crank it up to 4. One thing I noticed, they also improve on the brake squeal, which you'll soon hear. Okay. Let's go forward. Actually, in this configuration, there's no real forward or backwards. It's just the engines are facing away from each other. Well, I intended this video to be 20 minutes, but that's what it is. So, here it is, showcasing of the new GEVOs. You'll probably see the BSNFs once I get them. I'll have them on the layout as opposed to showing them on my bed. And also, if you've been following, if you're wondering about this long board I got here with the foam on it, this is supposed to be my new, it's going to be my shelf layout. But actually I'm going to replace the pink foam because it's, I don't know, the way I got it sectioned off, it's kind of due to the wood changing size due to temperature. It keeps cracking or it splits further. And it's going to cause some issues when it comes to layout. So I'm going to get another one board that goes across it. So I'm going to take these off. Probably take these to my uncle's layout so he can actually use this for scenery or something like that. Okay, so that's it. This is Maurice from 1111 Model Railroad. You're probably going to see these and my -9 at the layout, and you'll see further running of these engines. So thanks for watching. Have a good evening.